last year alone, $40 billion in bilateral aid vanished. And that's just for 1 year. This means that lower income countries are under incredible pressure. They're dealing with economic instability, rising inequality, climate shocks. And this leads to a bigger rethink about what do we even mean with the word development and how do we make it happen in a tangible way on the ground? So to answer these questions, here at Stanford's King Center on Global Development, we assembled a panel of experts from philanthropy, from government, from finance, and we asked them, what do you think is going to drive development, and in sub-Saharan Africa in particular? And here's what they said in 5 takeaways. Markets across Africa are emerging as investment destinations.
I think you're starting to see African leaders incentivize on-site refining, close-at-hand manufacturing, and they're looking for infrastructure to get goods to market. They don't simply want to be a blip in the supply chain, they'd actually like to be really strategic partners in the supply chain.
Africa is an asset class. Nobody considers Africa an asset class.
I mean, half of Africa is now middle income. That shatters the stereotypes that so many have.
Economic growth and not aid alone drives development.
I'm talking about growth in the productive sector of the economy, growth in the tradable sectors of the economy, agriculture, increasing the use of agriculture, agri-processing, light manufacturing. Now, those are the load-bearing portions of the economy. 50 to 80% of the jobs created are created there. That's where we add value to our exports. And that part has been largely neglected.
Africa is at the front lines of new global competition.
You have leaders throughout Africa desperately looking for ways to create meaningful jobs for that rapidly rising young generation. If we're smart, we'll be on their side for it. In so many ways, the future flows through Africa. Tanzania next year, 1 million Tanzanians will enter the workforce. 1 million. I promise you, there are not 1 million new meaningful jobs being created. We would be very smart to be on the side of looking for ways to invest and help to create those jobs.
If I hold a US Treasury bill, I don't pay any cost for holding it. If I hold a Nigerian paper, I pay 100% for holding it. What do I hold? All African savings holds US Treasury bills. So all the resources on the continent move to America. So the poor are financing the rich. That is the interesting travesty of the financial architecture that we live in today. And until we are able to change that system, where all of the resources from the developing world are essentially sitting in US Treasury bills, because a system has been designed that says, you can hold this one for free, but if you hold this one, you have to pay 100% the charge. It skews the system.
Philanthropy is becoming a laboratory for supporting innovation.
Private sector won't do the risk capital for the poorest, so we should step in to do that. The public sector can't take the risks. We can do it, and if it works, they can deploy it.
Despite today's crises, there's still reason for optimism.
Development really is more about nations looking for how they can maximize their assets and how they themselves can make sure that their citizens realize their utmost potential. That is the very definition for me of development. It has to be that every citizen has agency, internal agency, national agency, regional agency, local agency to improve their well-being.
In the end, the true engine of poverty reduction and self-reliance is economic growth in countries, and then distributing the proceeds of that economic growth equitably, making those long-term investments in the human capital of the future, using the grant financing, philanthropic resources like ours, public resources like traditional aid, of which I think there is still an incredibly important role. And then ideally, if you can put all of those together, along with the pipeline of innovation that we have, of which AI is some of the most exciting, but not the only exciting innovation, I really think the goals that we aspire to for 2045, we truly think we can get to a world where, no mother and child dies of a preventable disease, and that anyone with a deadly infectious disease can manage it. And so that's our hope and aspiration for the next 2 decades.